We got somebody waiting already. What are y'all waiting for? Is my YouTube not working? There it is. There it is. Guess my Rumble's working now too. Refresh, DVR, copy. Huh, it looks like YouTube goes live a few seconds before Rumble. Interesting. All right. Well, how's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's doing all right. Sorry, I'm once again a little late. I didn't even realize what time it was. Maybe I should start like scheduling these and just making my camera go live whenever it's 4:45. Got some people in here. Let's get the chats going. All right. So happy Friday, December 5th, 2025. This is episode number 20 of Addressing the Issues. Stick around the day. I put a little bonus together, a little special for you at the end. It should be fun. As always, remember to be sure to chat with me today, follow, subscribe on YouTube. Yeah, share it with somebody. This should be a good one today. Not much news today, but you know, we made it work. I guess nothing breaking today, but there's some pretty good news. Or not good news, it's news. So yeah, the FIFA World Cup Draw was today. The United States was placed in Group D with Paraguay, Australia, and the winner of Playoff C. So Playoff C includes Turkey, Slovakia, Romania, and Kosovo. And then if you didn't watch it, it looked like President Trump was having a great time celebrating his achievement of bringing the World Cup back to the U.S. for the first time since 1994, actually. But he also called soccer the real football, which was, a little strange. But I think we'll give him a pass this time because I think it was just enjoying his moment, enjoying the moment there in D.C. It should be fun. If anybody's going to the World Cup or planning on doing it, let me know in the chat. I don't know. Maybe if the U.S. plays around here, I might try and get a ticket. It'll probably be really expensive, but, I might try. I think it'd be fun. Something fun to do. A little bit of sport to relax. But our main story today is, well, I guess it's a couple of days old, but yesterday I saw a letter written by Hugo Carvajal Barrios, a man claiming to be an ex-member of the Venezuelan regime, serving as a 3-star general, director of Venezuela's military intelligence, and a deputy in Venezuela's National Assembly. I couldn't verify its authenticity yesterday in time for the show, but I do now have reason to believe that it is real. I verified with the Department of Justice, actually. I didn't call them. I just looked at the case, and it is a real case. And other people were reporting on it yesterday. So, I feel like, it's not going to be something the main news covers, but I think it's something that is rather pertinent. So I'm going to read it to you word for word. I think it's just that important. And then I'll talk about some real-life experiences I've had that at least somewhat validate this and show its actual reach here in the United States. So yeah, let's start off. It says, "Dear Mr. President Trump and the people of the United States, my name is Hugo Carvajal Barrios. For many years, I was a high-ranking member of the Venezuelan regime. I was a 3-star general trusted with both Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro, and served as director of military intelligence and a deputy in the National Assembly. Today, I sit in an American prison because I voluntarily pled guilty to the crimes charged against me, a narco-terrorism conspiracy. I write to atone by telling the full truth so that the United States can protect itself. Can protect itself from the dangers I witnessed for so many years. I publicly broke with the Maduro regime in 2017 and fled my country, knowing that I faced criminal charges in the United States. In doing so, I became their enemy. Knowing the risks, I acted with the strongest conviction to dismantle Maduro's criminal regime and bring freedom to my country. Today, I need to address the American people about the reality of what the Venezuelan regime truly is. and why President Trump's policies are not only correct, but absolutely necessary to the United States' national security. Number 1, narco-terrorism. I personally witnessed how Hugo Chavez's government became a criminal organization that is now run by Nicolas Maduro. Diosdado Cabello and other senior regime officials. The purpose of this organization, now known as the Cartel of the Suns, is to weaponize drugs against the United States. The drugs that reached your cities through new routes were not accidents of corruption, nor just the work of independent traffickers. They were deliberate policies coordinated by the Venezuelan regime against the United States. This plan was suggested by the Cuban regime to Chavez in the mid-2000s and has been successfully executed with help from FARC, that's a Colombian organization, ELN, and Cuban operatives, and Hezbollah. The regime has provided weapons, passports, and impunity for these terrorist organizations to operate freely from Venezuela against the United States. Number 2, Trinidad. I was present when decisions were made to organize and weaponize criminal gangs across Venezuela to protect the regime. Among them, the group known as Trinidad. Chavez ordered the recruitment of criminal leaders inside and outside prisons to defend the revolution in exchange for impunity. After Chavez died, Maduro expanded this strategy by exporting criminality and chaos abroad to target Venezuelan political exiles and artificially reduce crime statistics within Venezuela. Gang leaders were instructed to send thousands of members out of the country. This was coordinated through the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Prisons, the National Guard, and National Police Forces. Trinidad became the most effective and fastest growing. When the Biden-Harris open border policy became widely known, they seized the opportunity to send these operatives into the United States. They now have obedient armed personnel on American soil. To finance their operations, they were explicitly instructed to continue kidnapping, extorting, and killing. Every crime they commit on your soil is an act ordered by the regime. Number 3, counterintelligence and espionage against the United States. I was present when Russian intelligence came to Caracas to propose to Hugo Chavez the tapping of submarine internet cables that connect most of South America and the Caribbean islands with the United States for the purpose of penetrating United States government communications. In 2015, I warned Maduro that allowing Russian intelligence to build and run a secret listening post on La Orchilla Island would one day invite American bombs. He ignored me. For 20 years, the Venezuelan regime sent spies into your country. Many are still there, some disguised as members of Venezuelan opposition. Cuban intelligence showed me their networks inside your naval bases on the East Coast. They bragged about having sent thousands of spies over decades, some now career politicians. U.S. diplomats and CIA officers were paid to assist Chavez and Maduro in remaining in power. These Americans acted as spies for Cuba and Venezuela, and some remain active to this day. Number 4, Smartmatic in your elections. Smartmatic was born as an electoral tool of the Venezuelan regime, but soon derived into a tool to help keep the regime stay in power forever. I know this because I placed the head of IT of the National Electoral Council in his position, and he reported directly to me. The Smartmatic system can be altered. This is a fact. This technology was later exported abroad, including to the United States. Regime operatives maintain relationships with election officials and voting machine companies inside your country. I do not claim that every election is stolen, but I state with certainty that elections can be rigged with the software and has been used to do so. People of the United States, make no mistake about the threat posed by allowing a narco-terrorist organization to roam freely in the Caribbean and throughout Latin America, doing everything possible to harm the American people, to finance anti-Americanism across the continent, and to facilitate the operations of other terrorist organizations and enemies of the United States within Venezuela and now within your borders. The regime I served is not merely hostile, it is at war with you, using drugs, gangs, espionage, and even your own democratic processes as weapons. President Trump's policies against the Maduro criminal regime are not just justified, but necessary and proportionate to the threat. He may even be underestimating what the regime is prepared to do to hold on to power. They have contingency plans for every extreme scenario to ensure they never relinquish control. I absolutely support President Trump's policy towards Venezuela because it is in self-defense, and he is acting based on the truth. I remain ready to provide additional details about these matters to the United States government. Hugo Carvajal Barrios, United States of America, December 2nd, 2025. So, I'll talk about how this relates to my life. I had the neat chance to go to grad school in Boca Raton, the same town that the U.S. headquarters for Smartmatic is, the voting machines. During my time in grad school about a year ago, I decided I'd go to the south end of town one evening because I saw 3 food trucks in a group. I thought, isn't this a great opportunity to get whatever I want? And anyone in South Florida knows if you want good food for anything less than $50, you have to go to a food truck. That's just the way it is. So when I get there was a Peruvian food truck, a taco truck, and a Venezuelan food truck named Trino. Pretty similar name to the gang rising in media popularity at the time, Tren de Aragua. So I walk by and I see a sandwich at Trino that caught my eye. And I won't lie, when I got home and ate it, it was delicious. But when I go to order this sandwich and nobody in the truck knows English, I point to the next truck and I get a no English from the worker as well. So it seemed that nobody there knew English. So he calls up someone from sitting outside. There was tables set up with tons of families, and he calls a lady over. So I tell this lady what I want in both English and then in broken Spanish that I practiced for 6 years in school. She has no idea what I'm saying in either version. She then calls a number that says Miami, Florida, and she points to the phone for me to talk to him after speaking with him and after she spoke with him in Spanish. So this random guy in Miami translates what I want to the owner. The worker nods his head and says 5 minutes. I guess he knew that. So I sat down and at the one empty table there and waited. So while I'm waiting, there's a little girl, I'd say no older than 4. She gets out what looked to be an iPhone, and then she opens up the iGun app. If you don't know what this is, it's like a 10-plus-year-old app. It lets you select a gun, put it on your screen, and when you tap it, it makes the gun noise. It makes firing noises. So she pulls out the iGun app, picks the AK-47, every communist's favorite weapon of choice, and points it at me, and proceeds to spray me down with the iGun app for the entire time I wait on the sandwich. It ended up being almost 15 minutes. Not a single English word was spoken by them the entire time. But, this is when I knew we were an invaded nation. I never heard a no or alto towards the kid. Alto means stop. Just 15 minutes straight of virtual, fully automatic 7.62 gunfire from an AK-47 aimed at me the entire time I waited. And you could say that's just a little girl, and there was a Peruvian restaurant next to you, so how do you know? Well, a couple of weeks later, I'd start my last class at grad school. It was essentially on censorship and how to control a population through media. As everyone is introducing themselves in the regular old icebreaker, they say your name, your hometown, a fun fact about you, stuff like that. 9 out of 18 of the kids in my class said they were from Venezuela. So you start putting these pieces together. You see you're in one place of political power with Venezuela's Smartmatic, their USA headquarters, which has the power to plug in an algorithm to change the results of elections. A group of students learning censorship and in media manipulation. a population of military-aged individuals. And you may be wondering about the food trucks, though, right? Well, every army needs food. And there's no better way to mobilize food than a food truck. Nevertheless, the ability for food trucks to dodge certain regulations of a restaurant. Like if I wanted to set up a covert, guerrilla-style military abroad, this is exactly how I would do it. Gain power through politics, disguise them as a business, disguise them as students, and when the time is right, mobilize them with their supply of food. And if we didn't have open borders at the time, I wouldn't have been worried. I wouldn't have been putting 1, 2, and 3 together. But given the circumstances, it's obviously worrying. If this is true, the 800,000 plus Venezuelans entered the country during this time, this is the perfect staging setup for something far worse than that apartment in Aurora, Colorado, which at the same time period was being controlled by the Tren de Aragua gang. So I don't think Hugo Carvajal Barrios is lying at all. I think he's sounding the alarm on a much bigger problem than any of us are willing to notice or are willing to admit. I hope they do bring Hugo Carvajal Barrios into Congress, or at least, some congressional representative goes to him and asks him a little bit about what's going on here, because I think he might have, a little bit of insider baseball knowledge on what exactly is going on here. So for a second story today, Warner Brothers Disney is expected to be acquired by Netflix in Q3 of 2026, subject to regulatory approvals and closing conditions. This deal would separate Discovery Global from Warner Brothers Disney before the acquisition by Netflix, as it would become a new standalone company. The current plan is to start splitting the two operations, Warner Brothers Disney and Discovery Global, in the coming future, in preparation for the deal. The internal memo sent out today seems rather positive in the nature that the deal will get through regulation. However, I suspect there will be, some antitrust lawsuits coming in the near future just due to the size and scope of this deal. Little social media news for today. The European Union is fining X 120 million euros, or 140 million US dollars, for not censoring free speech. Elon, do not pay this extortion racket, please. It's unreal. Vice President J.D. Vance has already chimed back at the EU, stating, the EU should be supporting free speech, not attacking American companies over garbage. And he is right. He's right. The EU has a huge censorship problem, especially censoring people about their own quality of life. They've been censoring people in France from posting videos about their living conditions in Paris, cities in France. I mean, it is absolutely unreal what they are doing to their own population, and Elon should not stand for it. It's a free speech platform, and it should stand 10 toes down on that. I guess that's all the news we have for today. Today was really slow. I mean, that's what you get on a Friday. That's kind of why I try and have guest episodes on Fridays. But since I didn't have a guest on today, I thought I'd give you guys a little special. So, since I failed you another week, I did something a little extra today. And, maybe we can distract from my failures with some of those of President Obama, everyone's favorite. So I made a list. There's 10 of them. 10 main ones that I can point out that just haven't worked out. So you have number 1, Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act was an abject failure, rocketing premiums for everyone. We have yet to see the affordable care promised. After 15 years since its inception, all we got was a system rife with abuse from immigrants, while the American taxpayer's been hosed with higher costs of deductibles, higher out-of-pocket costs, but also higher costs for insurance premiums. This made people lose their doctors that they had entrusted their entire lifetimes. So they said that you could keep the doctor that you had. That was a huge lie, and I think everybody knows it now. Providers refused to accept plans purchased from the marketplace. These policies created a problem we have today where claims are denied, pharmacy benefits managers run the show, and requiring those that do not want health insurance to purchase it. And who does the burden fall on? Well, of course, it's the young and healthy. So this is basically everything that ticked off the less favorite person, Luigi Mangione, that monster. You can blame it all on Obamacare. How about that? Number 2, abysmal control of drone strikes. If you think Trump's drone strikes are bad in the Caribbean, you should look back at Obama's. Obama killed U.S. citizens abroad in the Middle East with no trial, U.S. citizens, and no remorse. He never said he was sorry. And these strikes often failed to reduce collateral damage, killing far more civilians than necessary. We'll get on to number 3. The Iran nuclear deal, the JCPOA. It did little but fund terrorism with the cash that we gave them, as we now have figured out. The deal lifted sanctions, but did not include a clause for anywhere, anytime inspections, meaning Iran was warned where and when inspections would occur, giving them time to hide the highly enriched uranium that they've had. The $1.7 billion in cash given to them, to Iran, as some sort of a settlement, turned into a piggy bank that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has used to fund and train terrorists throughout the region and world. And now Iran has once again threatened that it is within months or weeks away from development of a nuclear weapon, even after President Trump's preventative strikes in Operation Midnight Hammer. So then we get on to number 4. There was his Hillary Clinton advocated for intervention in Libya. This was done to ensure that, Libya would join the Bank of International Settlements. It would not unite the African continent on a gold-backed currency as opposed to the US dollar. This resulted in a continually fractured Africa, an attack on the US embassy that killed US citizens and diplomats, and ended up with 21st century slave markets in the city of Tripoli. Unreal. I can't believe that we would advocate for that. And then there was number 5, the Syrian Red Line. This is when the U.S. said using chemical weapons on Syria's population was a red line with the U.S., prompting Hillary Clinton's Assad must go rhetoric. Have we ever heard that one before? Obama later decided it didn't matter that much, opting to pull U.S. troops from Iraq and allowing Russia to come in and control Syria, instead allowing for the formation and strengthening of ISIS, which President Trump had to clean up in his first term. And now with hindsight, we see exactly where it got us. An ex-ISIS leader has taken control of the country during the Biden regime, so I guess Hillary got all her wishes, and we got what could be nationalized ISIS in the near future. Number 6, the normalization with Cuba for all of 2 years. Obama decided to open back up trade and travel to Cuba without an agreement or even a demand to ensure human rights for its citizens. Obama allowed trade with the U.S., but did not even try to ensure the communist government would feed its citizens, essentially enriching the oligarchs that run Cuba. This completely collapsed 50 years of American policy against the communists and human rights violating government. And all the U.S. got was diplomats with Havana syndrome. It's commonly believed to be an incurable chronic brain injury caused by an acoustic or directed energy weapon, leading to headaches, blindness, memory loss, and vestibular or inner ear damage. And we got number 7, deferred action for childhood arrivals and deferred action for parents of Americans. Obama used an executive order, which he himself said he could not do legally, to give permission to work permits for about 800,000 dreamers and their parents. Second time we've heard that number of the day. Both him and legal scholars considered it unconstitutional amnesty, yet Obama did it anyway. Then we get to number 8, You know, here we get to the ones that specifically tick me off the most. Number 8, cash for clunkers scam. If you've ever wondered why automobiles cost so much these days, you can blame Obama's cash for clunkers. This was an incentive for people to turn over less efficient or less fuel efficient cars for destruction. In return, they would receive $3,500 to $4,500 to purchase a new, more fuel efficient car. This drastically reduced the supply of cars on the market. Those same cars that today would be great starter cars for young people, and cars that those with lower income could purchase on minimal credit or be able to successfully pay off in a reasonable amount of time. Number 9, the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act. This is the one that gets me every day. This revision legalized the dissemination of government-produced media, aka propaganda, to be disseminated on the U.S. population. This allows the government to use media you use every day, such as legacy news outlets, to propagandize the United States population. This act has allowed for the government to disseminate untruthful or misleading information to the public to help themselves. The major example I can think of recently is COVID-19. You can think of 2 weeks to stop the spread. The vaccine is safe and effective. And the virus came from eating raw bats or pangolins. I mean, unreal stuff. Number 10, the General Motors Chrysler bailout. During this bailout, Obama forced GM to discontinue the Pontiac brand, which was narrowing its scope to only produce rear-wheel drive cars, and would open a factory in the state of Alabama with the goal of cutting costs and boosting the post-recession economy by driving job growth in the area. So for all my apparent fellow NASCAR fans in the chat, this is why Pontiac isn't in the Cup Series anymore. And this is why the U.S. muscle car market has absolutely plunged in quality because of a lack of competition. Beyond these, things that he did while he was president, you can always, look at the Death Star. The presidential library he built in Chicago, sorry. It's completely over budget. It's 3 times the original price tag, totaling $850 million to this day. It's been under construction for 4 years as a complete and total eyesore, even according to the residents of Chicago, where it's built. But yeah, I guess that's it for the President Obama special and the news for today. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Be sure, if you enjoyed this episode and, the little special at the end, be sure to like, comment, share, follow me on Rumble, subscribe on YouTube. If you'd like to support me financially, there is a little green $ button in the bottom left of the Rumble chat, or bottom left of the Rumble screen. If you click that, you can do a one-time donation, a monthly donation. Anything helps. It keeps me able to keep this show going. Helps me keep giving you the news. And, if you guys like this, leave a comment after the video and say, maybe we want to have a couple more of these specials. But I guess this is kind of my, apology for sucking. I tried to bring up somebody who sucked worse. But yeah, that's my apology for not having you a hosted episode for this Friday going into your weekend. And, next weekend I do plan to have a hosted show. I'm not sure exactly who it's going to be yet. I have at least 2 people that could come on for one. They said that they would. I don't know if it'll be this week or next week, but it could be the week after that. I know we're getting into the holiday season then. The Merry Christmas season, as I like to call it. But yeah, I'll be working to get one of those out next week. I'm so sorry that I've been, failing you guys on that. I intended to have one out every week, but it's been a lot harder to find people given the size of my channel that want to come on. But yeah, if you guys could obviously share this and get more people in here, more subs and followers I have, the better, the more likely it is people want to come on. And I wanted to remind everybody, if you could, if you're watching this without a YouTube channel, without a Rumble channel, try and make one. Make a Rumble or YouTube channel, and then hit the follow or subscribe button on your respective platforms. And, it'll help boost these numbers up. It'll help push the algorithm, and it'll give me a chance to have more influential people on here sometime in the near future. But once again, that's all I have for today. To all my people on the East Coast, I hope you get home safe. To all my people further west, I hope you finish up the workday strong, the work week strong. It's a Friday. And get home safe as well. I hope everybody has a great weekend. I'll see you guys again at 4:45 Eastern Time on Monday. Thank you, guys.